This is a 1973 Porsche 914. And this particular example belongs to the one and only Shmee 150, aka Tim. For those of you who don't know Tim, he's the man that brings you all the supercar and hypercar releases on YouTube, as well as test drives, upcoming events and specs of just about every exotic sports car. Tim also owns his own super and hypercar collection in the form of the Shmuseum.
A few things here at the Shmuseum itself I'd like to tell you about, but having been on the road a lot recently, I think we need an update.
Now the Shmuseum houses a host of cars, including Ferraris, Lamborghinis, McLarens, even his first ever car, a Renault Clio. I'll leave a link in the description below to Tim's channel and the Shmuseum. Tim decided to purchase a 914 to add and complement his collection of cars, so set out to find a nice example of a 914. After locally searching, he found what appeared to be a nice, clean, freshly painted car that just needed bolting back together. Unfortunately, that was far from what it actually was. This 914 had extensive rust repairs, not only to the body, but also to the structure of the car. As well as more filler than I've ever seen in any one small car alone. And these repairs were of a very low standard. And to top it all off, some poor accident repairs and a twisted chassis. Definitely a financial disaster. So Tim contacted us to see if we would be interested in turning this disaster into the 914 worthy of a place in the Shmuseum. The rest is, let's say, documented video history. So let's grab some tools and let's crack on. Right, so this car has recently been on a bit of a journey. Now, we originally clamped it to this jig. It clamps here, here to the sill sections, and it clamps it down to a very heavy jig in all 4 points just there. Now, we took all the measurements around the car and we found out that that corner was way out, about 4 millimeters out. And we've since found that this corner is about 2 millimeters out. So it's throwing the measurements off between here. We've got a gap difference between there of about 6 mil and here. So it then went to petrol hedonism, and as you can see, everybody signed it, including all the creators, absolutely everybody. Then we brought it back, put it back on the jig, and we reset all those measurements so it was back in the same place and clamped it with these. Now from there, we've measured all the corners and we've removed all the metal out of the hellhole in the engine bay. Now that has let the back end sag down, which is a good thing because it'll go back up very easily. So what we have to do is we have to take all the measurements on the jig, I'll show you that in a minute, and then we have to get the car in position, 2 mil this corner, 4 mil that corner, brace this corner because this corner is correct. As soon as that side's up, we can brace that corner. And that'll keep it in place for us to replace, take it back off the jig and replace all the metal. And then once we take the bracing out, the car will stay there. Let me show you how we do the measurements on the jig. Right, so this is the clamped area. I mean, these are clamped on all 4 corners, 1, 2, and you can see through there 3, 4. Now they are absolute, that won't let this car, this square floor pan move at all. So from there, if we jigged this side upwards and basically bent this car that way, all this will stay still and all this will move up, or this corner would move up. So what we're going to do here now, as you can see, we know everything is correct because these are original mount points, as you can see here, and this little dolly goes and slides up and gives us a measurement. Now we know on the ends that we're centered because we've got a tape measure inside there, and we know it's the correct height because we've got a little tape measure on here as well. So we know the base of that car is set. So what we do here now, we use a different little adapter in there, pop that in there, and if I can one-handed undo that, you can see we have a locator hole, and that goes inside that locator hole, and one-handed again, look, we'll lock that off. Now, as you can see, that is just on 12 there, in that locator hole, with it all clamped down. And if we do this side, you can see there, we've actually got 11. So we've got 12 on that side, 11 on that side. So at the front here, where it's had a little bit of an impact, the front here, it's actually 10 millimeters out. So this side needs to go up. Now, because of the distance between here and here, when we raise this up 10 millimeters, this is probably going to just move this 2 millimeters. And we've got the same issue at the back. You can see we've got the bars in, the locating pins, the measurements there, and the measurement there. And we know this quarter is 4 mil down. Well, it's 4 mil away here. So it works out about, I think it's 11 mil difference here. So when we jack that back end up, it'll move this closer. And when we jack that end up, it'll move this closer. Now we do have to offer the door up as well, just to make sure everything lines up. But when we do, the result of that, as long as we know that these door gappings and door bottoms, right, because I know there is a big gap here, well, the result of that is twisting that way is going to move this way, and it's going to move that way, which will give us our difference between here, which is going to be braced, and here. And then our hardtop, which is there, will fit and the car will be square again. So this side is now braced up. That'll stop this side moving at all. So whatever we do on that side to close the opposite gap up isn't going to affect this side. So this is going to stay as its correct measurements, and as we jack both those corners up to close that gap, this one isn't going to move. And then once we've got it in position, we're going to weld another brace in just like this one. Bit of a dilemma. Because our jig is used, well used, I think we need new jaws in here, because every time, because there's quite a bit of pressure to raise this car up, every time we jack the front up and the rear up, it's slipping a little bit. Oh, it's only millimeters, but that is enough. It's slipping a little bit out of the jaws. So what we're going to do is we're going to reseat it, we're going to clamp it up, and we're just going to weld some braces between here and here to help just keep these corners down. Right, so that's most of the bad metal out. Now, we can't take too much out because we're going to lose too much strength at the back here, and the back end's going to drop. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it piece by piece. Now, what we've got here is we've got the original panel. Now, we do know that's the original panel because it's still got the original clips to retain the wiring harness on it. One here, one down here, and we've got the shapes as the same as the other side. Now, it's not a bad thing. It is a bad thing, but it's not a bad thing because for us, we've retained some shape and we've got some pattern we can work to there. But they've basically found a few holes and they've just slapped some patches straight over the top of there, which has made the rust worse, basically. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a panel here, and then we're going to move down, we're going to make a panel here. We might weld this in before we take some structure out here, and we're basically going to make panels, take panels out as we go. Hopefully get some structure back in there as we're taking structure out. So that's the first of many panels to be made. Now, we are going to treat the back of this because it's going to be further up here. But all these cavities and everything like that, that we will wax oil a little bit later as well. Now, we don't have to do anything with this panel inside here because, again, it's just inside the wheel arch. We're going to treat it all later when we've finished all the welding on the car. So what we're going to do now is going to actually stitch this in. We're only going to tack it in for now, and we are going to join it to this bottom bit here, but we're only going to join it to that bottom bit for now for reference, because we'll probably be replacing all this bottom bit as well. But we'll know we're basically starting from the top, working down, just making it up as we go along. So what we've got here is we need to replace this panel here. Now, that panel is actually joined to a panel at the back here, and this is the structure from this box section overlaid. So what we've got to do is we've got to replace this panel here. Now, the edge of this panel here joins to a panel that's on the rear. You can just see it there through that weld. Now, on top of that is a lot of weld, a lot of steel, so we've got to slowly, and this box section, because there's a box section that's overlaid on here that basically goes all the way up there, right at the top, and then this is over, and this is the side of the box section. As you can see, we can get that in there, box section. So we've got to take all this off here, chisel all that off all the way down there, so that we can get to this panel behind, and we're not actually going to weld it onto this edge, just like this edge we did with this panel. We're just going to put it in position, because there's some down here as well that we need to do, and it disappears down there, and we're probably going to take that outside quarter off so that we can start replacing a little. It's only a small edge all the way down there, but we've got to take that rear quarter off of the outside to do it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to clean up all this and see if we can get this panel stitched in, but not this edge welded. And then once we've done this, we'll know a little bit more. Then we're going to crack on with making this panel, doing the same, and then once all that's done, we're going to go to the outside, we're going to take that rear quarter off, and we're going to repair, weld to these edges and repair these edges as well. Right, so that's the second panel in. As we say, with this rear quarter on the outside is going to come off, so we can dress all this and add any metal, because there is quite a lot down here that we have to do as well, that's behind this structural section, so we can't get to it from here, so we have to take that quarter off to do this. But a parcel's just turned up. Let's have a look. Now this is from our latest sponsors, Automotech Services Limited. As you can see, they do absolutely everything you can imagine garage equipment wise, whether it's a big garage or a small garage. Now we've had 5 ramps for a long time with no issues at all. I'll pop a link in the description down below for these, but for now, let's unpack this and see what it is.